It is March Madness here on RFL, and we got a couple of sports stories for you. And I'm going to start with the NCAA tourney, which kicked off just a few hours ago, in fact. Everybody filled in their brackets, hopefully before noon. And already, if you had Iowa State, you're hurting right now. But be that as it may, even President Obama got into this act. And I'm not sure if the president's betting, but I am pretty sure that just about everybody else has got at least $5 in their office pool. But New Jersey is still in court. And it's been nearly 3 years, their battle here, to try and legalize sports betting. And in fact, all 4 commissioners of the major sports are all talking to each other to try and do this. But yet, no sports gambling unless you're in a casino in Vegas or whatever else in a sports book. Andrew, is this just rank hypocrisy? Or if we legalize this, we adding one more vice, and is the state in effect profiting off yet another addiction?
I think to a certain degree it is rank hypocrisy. New Jersey's in court only because their process is stupid and because they tried to legalize it internally without changing the federal law. For years, one of the big roadblocks was Harry Reid because he wants it restricted to Nevada. He's no longer the majority leader in the Senate, so you would think that the climate is better for them to change the federal law to allow sports betting, and I think that's probably going to happen at some point because it is fairly widespread. And we're starting to see a bit of a relaxed attitude on a lot of morality issues where people want to do what they want to do, and it seems like there are fewer roadblocks to do it.
Play some bets, you know,
I'm sure that casinos
right?
in Vegas wouldn't mind if you did both at the same time.
Hey, it generates revenue.
Exactly.
Oh, would you be opposed to it?
No, to smoke the pot or the
No,
gambling?
legalized gaming, sports gambling.
She was going to answer. Don't
Either way.
cut her off.
Which one? No, I do think it's ridiculous. It's hypocritical.
The problem
I have
with
no
it is
issue
if you
with
start
gambling at all.
legalizing just sports betting, you've really opened the door to legalizing what next. I don't say it's a bad idea.
Oh,
but
what
I do
could be next?
Online
Prop bets,
online poker.
presidential elections.
Anything at all. I mean, people will bet on anything. So again, I think I don't think.
I guess my only point, Richard, is if people want to bet now, they go to a bookie. If people want to, play online poker, they can do that right now.
It's
And instead of
hard.
going to offshore places and whatever else, isn't the answer to a lot of the stuff to regulate?
Yes, the answer is, but don't jump at one element of it until you've thought through all the elements of what you want to keep legal and what you don't want legal. Kids, 18, 21.
We'd like to keep them legal.
Cash on hand, or can you get credit when you bet? This isn't chopped liver, and there's a trend line, and it's probably going to happen inexorably within 5 or 10 years, but it needs to be thought through.
Dominic, I'm going to ask you this next question as a football fan here. It's all sports, but this most notably in football. It has to do with the Dallas Cowboys, quote-unquote, America's team. And they signed yet another player with, to put it politely, a troubled past. This time, it's Pro Bowl defensive end Greg Hardy. He's getting a 1-year, $11 million contract. Sure, a lot of it is incentive-driven, but still, the guy could make in upwards of $11 million, even though he was convicted of domestic abuse. And if you read the details surrounding the case, it's going to make your stomach turn. Those charges were overturned on appeal, but it was really a technicality. The woman never showed up after there was a settlement out of court between him and her. Nonetheless, a Dallas sports anchor, Dale Hansen, he let loose here with what I thought was a very timely editorial.
Just when I begin to think the Cowboys can't possibly sink any lower, they can't fall from grace any more than they have, they find another shovel and dig a few feet deeper. Hardy's only available because Carolina didn't want him anymore.
And he went on to point out that he will not be the only Dallas Cowboy with the tarnished past. His teammate will be one of them, Josh Brent, the guy you see on the screen. He's a guy convicted of intoxication, manslaughter. His teammate was killed in a car of which Mr. Brent was driving at the time. They're actively trying to get Adrian Peterson, who, as we know, used corporal punishment on his kid here and all the rest. It's not just football, obviously, and it's not just the Cowboys. Do you think, down deep, fans don't care? They just want a guy that's going to make the team better? Or do you think there is a point where they say, you know what? I don't want this guy on my team anymore.
Richard, I say this, it may not be politically correct, but this fall I got the opportunity to go to my first Dallas Cowboy game in, I think it's Irving, which is right outside Dallas. I thought it was in Dallas. And to be in that stadium with almost 100,000 fans, all they care about, whether it's right or wrong, how good at you at catching that ball. I don't care what they may say on Wednesday,
Yep.
but on Sunday, how good at you catching that ball? How fast are you? Is Tony Romo's back okay? Those are their issues. And the television revenue backs that up. These guys and their issues, this has been going on for 40, 50 years. It's not going to change.
You know, I will only say this, that I remember the Knicks a few years ago, before they became terrible, but they became unwatchable for me because I had such a hard time rooting for anybody on the court, whether it was Marbury or Sprewell or the rest of these guys, and Isaiah Thomas at the time, that even if they were winning, I didn't want to have anything to do with them because I didn't want to root for them.
There's a difference between that reaction, which is appropriate and perfect, and saying the guy should not be allowed to make a living. I don't know enough about what he did. Assume it was awful.
It was awful.
I don't know if he's sought forgiveness and apologized. If there's a guy who's made a terrible, terrible, terrible mistake and admits it and seeks to be a better person, do you want to shut that guy off from making a living?
No, but I have a choice as an owner whether or not I want to employ him.
The great religions of the world preach forgiveness. You have to ask for
Richard,
forgiveness.
you
Fine, but
just
it doesn't
sat
have to be
here and,
my
like,
paycheck.
advocated for this like massive discussion over race, like while you're getting your cup of coffee. Like, how can you think that it's okay that these players who are role models to kids can behave like this, and because they're good on the field, like no one else.
I said that it's okay
No,
for
you're
them to behave.
you're saying that they deserve forgiveness and that they shouldn't lose
If
their
they
jobs
ask
over
for
it.
Yes. And
Well,
if-
I'm not saying that people shouldn't be forgiven,
But
but
let the
there should be
record show I
there
never
should
said
be
that those
consequences.
behaviors were
You
any
shouldn't
Okay,
have
okay.
keep your
As much as I
job.
would love to keep this one going,
bing.
Jessica, I would like you to say hello to your partner on November team, Bill O'Reilly. And speaking of Bill, as always, he will join Mr. Brodsky and our own Andrew Whitman this and every weekend on Newsbreakers, airing weekends on Fios One News, Lower Hudson Valley.
Why is this picture
When
bigger
we
than
come
ours?
back, oh my God,
Somebody produced
I've
it
got a
that
few
way.
words on Obamacare, and believe it or not, it's working. I'll tell you why after this.